All right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome to the Torah study. Let's first do a sound check. Can everybody hear me? If so, please just type in yes or let me know in one way or another that you can hear me. All right, well, I'll assume that everybody can hear me. So we're going to start off. We're going to be doing Parshat Toldoth. I get asked a lot, why do you go according to the rabbinites' schedule? And that was really done. Let me get rid of this. That was really done by my colleague, Hakham Melech when we used to do this Torah studies together. And he suggested we just go by the rabbinical calendar, because there's no reason not to, right? I mean, most of the Jewish people are going by this calendar. Actually, there's slight differences between the Sephardi and the Ashkenazi calendar, and there are various varieties. Some places do a 2-year cycle, some even do a 3-year cycle. But we decided to do the standard Ashkenazi cycle just to stay in sync with the rest of the Jewish people. And so please don't mistake it for any implication on our part, or on my part, that there's some kind of canonical reason that we're doing this portion of the Torah this week. It's just merely a matter of convenience to basically to stay synced with the rest of the Jewish people. So that being said, we're going to be in Genesis chapter 25, verse 19. Let me share the screen. One second here. Share. Stop sharing. Share screen. Chrome tab. Genesis 25. I definitely don't need the audio for that. And there we go. Okay. So what I've been doing lately, and what I'll do this week, is read the entire parsha in the Hebrew, and then we can go back and we can discuss it. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm not going to translate. Maybe I'll stop if there's a very, very specific point that I want to make. But if not, we're just going to read through. So here we go. So it's verse 19. Ve'ela Toldoth. That's where we get the name of the parsha, Toldoth. Okay. Ve'ela Toldoth Yitzchak ben Abraham. Abraham holid Yitzchak. Vahi Yitzchak ben 40 shana bikachto et Rivka bat Bituel ha'arami mipadan Aram achot Lavan ha'arami lo leisha. V'etar Yitzchak liYehovah lenochach ishto ki akarahi v'yeter lo Yehovah v'tahar Rivka ishto. ויתרוצצו הבנים בקרבה, ותאמר, אם כן, למה זה אנוכי, ותלך לדרוש את יהוה. Verse 23, ויאמר יהוה לה, שני גויים בבטנך, ושני אלוהים ממעייך ייפרדו, ולאום מלאום יאמץ, ורב יעבוד צעיר. ימלאו ימיה ללדת, והנה תומים בבטנה. ויצא הראשון עד מוני כולו, כעדרת שיער, יקראו שמו עשיו. ואחרי כן יצא אחיו, וידו אוחזת בעקב עשיו, יקרא שמו יעקב. ויצחק בן 60 שנה בלדת אותם. ויגלו הנערים, ויהי עשיו איש יודע ציד, איש שדה, ויעקב איש תם יושב אוהלים. ויאהב יצחק את עשיו, ציד בפיו, ורבקה אוהבת את יעקב. Verse 29. ויעשה יעקב נזיד, ויבוא עשיו מן השדה, והוא עייף, ויאמר עשיו אל יעקב, הלאיתני נא מן האדום הזה, כי עייף אנוכי, כן קרא שמו אדום. ויאמר יעקב, מכרה כיום את בכורתך לי. יאמר עשיו, הנה אנוכי הולך למות, ולמה זה לי בכורה? ויאמר יעקב, היא שווה לי כיום, וישבע לו וימכור את בכורתו ליעקב. Verse 34, יעקב נתן לעשיו לחם ונזיד עדשים, ויאכל וישת ויקם וילך, ויבז עשיו את הבכורה. Welcome, Ben and Ariella.
Hi, Ben's
Hi,
here.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah, How are you? Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, doing just fine. Thank you very much. We're in the middle of reading the Parsha, so we're just about to start on Genesis 26 right now.
Okay, I'm there. I'm with you.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue. ויהי רעב בארץ מלבד הרעב הראשון אשר היה בימי אברהם, וילך ישחק אל אבימלך מלך פלישתים, גררה actually, וירא אליו יהוה, ויאמר אל תרד מצרימה, שכון בארץ אשר אומר אליך, גור בארץ הזאת, ואהיה עמך, אברכך כי לך ולזרעך אתן כל הארצות האל, להקים אותי את השבועה אשר נשבעתי לאברהם אביך. Verse 4, והרביתי את זרעך ככוכבי השמיים, ונתתי לזרעך את כל הארצות האל, יתברכו בזרעך כל גויי הארץ, עקב אשר שמע אברהם בקולי, וישמור משמרתי מצוותיי, חוקותיי ותורותיי. So we're in verse 6 now. וישב יצחק בגרר, וישאלו אנשי המקום לאשתו, ויאמר אחותי היא, כי ירא לאמור אשתי, פן יהרגוני אנשי המקום על רבקה, כי טובת מראה היא. ויהי כי ארכו לו שם הימים, וישקף אבימלך מלך פלישתים עד החלון, וירא והנה יצחק מצחק את רבקה אשתו. Verse 9, ויקרא אבימלך ליצחק ויאמר, הנה אשתך היא, ואיך אמרת אחותי היא, ויאמר אליו יצחק, כי אמרתי פן אמות עליה. ויאמר אבימלך, מה זאת עשית לנו? כמעט שכב אחד העם עם את אשתך, והבאת עלינו אשם. יצר אבימלך את כל העם לאמור, הנוגע באיש הזה ובאשתו מות יומת. Verse 12, ויזרע יצחק בארץ ההיא, וימצא בשנה ההיא 100 שערים, ויברכהו יהוה, ויגדל האיש, וילך הלוך, וגדל עד כי גדל מאוד. ויהי לו מקנה צאן ומקנה בקר, ועבודה רבה, ויקנאו אותו פלישתים. וכל הבארות אשר חפרו עבדי אביו בימי אברהם אביו, סיתמום פלישתים ימלאום עפר. ויאמר אבימלך אל יצחק, לך עמנו, כי עצמת ממנו מאוד, וילך משם יצחק, ויחן בנחל גרר, וישב שם. Verse 18, so we're in chapter 26, verse 18. וישב יצחק, יחפור את בארות המים אשר חפרו בימי אברהם אביו, ויסתמום פלישתים אחרי מות אברהם. יקרא להם שמות כשמות אשר קרא להם אביו. יחפרו עבדי יצחק בנחל, וימצאו שם באר מים חיים. יריבו רועי גרר עם רועי יצחק, לאמור לנו המים, ויקרא שם הבאר עסק, כי התעסקו עמו. Verse 21, ויחפרו באר אחרת, ויריבו גם עליה, ויקרא שמה שטנה, ויעתק משם, ויחפור באר אחרת, ולא רבו עליה, ויקרא שמה רחובות, ויאמר כי עתה הרחיב יהוה לנו, ופנינו בארץ. ויעל משם באר שבה, וירא אליו יהוה בלילה ההוא, יאמר אנוכי אלוהי אברהם אביך, אל תירא, כי איתך אנוכי, יברכתיך, והרביתי את זרעך בעבור אברהם עבדי. Verse 25, יבן שם מזבח, ויקרא בשם יהוה, ואת שם אוהלו, ויכירו שם עבדי יצחק באר. ויכרו שם עבדי יצחק באר. And verse 26, would anyone like to read? Ben or Ariella, one of you guys like to read? If you're trying to speak, I can't hear you. I didn't mute you guys, did I? No.
I'm unmuted. There you go.
Okay, Kofav,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
either of you guys like to read?
Ben will.
Okay, so we're in verse 20.
Vayavi Melech halach elav migrab vayehu zat mere ehu ufikol sar zavao vayomer elehem Yitzchak madua batem ele vayatem shenetem oti vat shal huni meitchem vayomer ra'o. Huh?
Vayomru.
Oh, sorry. Vayamru ra'i ra'inu ki haya Yehovah imech veno me tehi na Allah benotenu benenu uvinecha venikrata berit imach in ta'aseh imanu ra'a be'asher lo nega'anuka ve'ka'asher hasinu imcha rach tov ben shalecha ben shalechacha.
Yeah, that's a mouthful, that one.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
We need
put my
Shalecha.
teeth back in for that one.
Yeah.
Via clue, veish two. Via.
Yeah, I think you skipped the line there. Ben.
Oh, sorry.
To
Yep.
Lamed. Ba Shalom.
I thought.
You did.
Yeah, Bashalom. I'm sorry. Yeah, Bashalom ata Baruch Yehovah. Vayash lahem mishte vayochlu vayishtu vayishkimu baboker vayeshavu aish leacher vayishalchem Yitzchak ve'elchu me'ito b'shalom vayhi vayom hahu vayov'u avdei Yitzchak vayagidu lo al odot haber asher hafaru vayomru lo metzanu mayim vayikra ita ota shiva al ken shem hayir be'er sheva od hayom hazeh.
Very nice. So, okay, I'll take over from here unless somebody else wants to read.
That's okay. I'll read after a bit if you
okay.
want, but this is fine.
Okay, all right. So then we're in verse 34. ויהי עשיו בן 40 שנה ויקח אישה את יהודית בת בארי החיתי ואת בוסמת בת אילן החיתי ותחיינה מורת רוח ליצחק ולרבקה. And we're in chapter 27. ויהי כי זקן יצחק ותכהנה עיניו מראות ויקרא את עשיו בנו הגדול ויאמר אליו בני, יאמר אליו הנני, ויאמר הננה זקנתי, לא ידעתי יום מותי, ואתה שא נא חיליך, תליך וקשתך, ויצא השדה ועצודה לי ציד, עשה לי מטעמים כאשר אהבתי, והביאה לי ואוכלה בעבור תברכך נפשי בטרם אמות. verse 5, ורבקה שומעת בדבר יצחק אל עשיו בנו, וילך עשיו השדה לצוד ציד להביא, ורבקה אמרה אל יעקב בנה לאמור, הנה שמעתי את אביך מדבר אל עשיו אחיך לאמור, הביאה לי ציד, יעשה לי מטעמים ואוכלה ואברכך לפני יהוה לפני מותי, ואתה בני שמע בקולי, ואשר אני מצווה אותך, לך נא אל הצאן וקח לי משם 2 גדיי עזים טובים, ועשה אותם מטעמים לאביך כאשר אהב, והבאת לאביך ואכל בעבור אשר יברכך לפני מותו. verse 11, ויאמר יעקב אל רבקה אמו, הן עשיו אחי איש שעיר ואנוכי איש חלק, אולי ימושני אבי והיית בעיניו כמתעתע, והבאתי עלי קללה ולא ברכה, ותאמר לו אמו, עלי קללתך בני, אך שמע בקולי ולך קח לי, ילך ויקח ויבא לאמו, ותעש עמו מטעמים כאשר אהב אביו, ותיקח רבקה את בגדי עשיו בנה הגדול החמודות אשר איתה בבית, ותלבש את יעקב בנה הקטן, ואת אורות גדיי העזים הלבישה על ידיו ועל חלקת צוואריו, ותיתן את המטעמים ואת הלחם אשר עשתה ביד יעקב בנה, ויבוא אל אביו, ויאמר אבי, ויאמר הנני מי אתה בני. verse 19, ויאמר יעקב אל אביו, אנוכי עשיו בכורך, עשיתי כאשר דיברת אליי, קום נא שבה ואכלה מצידי בעבור. I'm just gonna mute you guys for a second. Ben and Ariel, I just muted you because there's a lot of background noise. So if you want to talk, just let me know and just send a chat or something, and I'll unmute. So where were we? Verse 20 or so. Wayimer, I'm going to start in verse 20. So we're in Genesis 27:20. Wayimer Yitzhak el beno ma ze miharta limso bni. Yimer ki hikra Yehovah Elohecha lifanai. ויאמר יצחק אל יעקב, קשה נא בעמושך בני, אתה זה בני עשיו? אם לא. ויגש יעקב אל יצחק אביו וימושהו, ויאמר הכל כל יעקב והידיים ידי עשיו, ולא הכירו כי היו ידיו כדי עשיו אחיו שעירות, ויברכהו. verse 24, ויאמר אתה זה בני עשיו, ויאמר אני, ויאמר הגישה לי ואוכלה מצעד בני למען תברכך נפשי, ויגש לו ויאכל ויבא לו יען וישת. ויאמר אליו יצחק אביו, קשה נא ושקע לי בני. verse 27, ויגש וישק לו וירח את ריח בגדיו ויברכהו, יאמר ראה ריח בני כריח שדה אשר ברכו יהוה, ויתן לך אלוהים מטל השמיים ושמני הארץ ורוב דגן ותירוש, ויעבדוך עמים וישתחו לך לאומים, הווה גביר לאחיך, וישתחו לך בני אמך, אורורך ארור ומברכך ברוך. And we're up to verse 30. Would somebody like to read?
30.
Do you want me to, or you
Is
go
that
to?
Lamed?
Yeah.
Go ahead, hon. I'm
All right.
quite happy to hear you.
right. ויהי כאשר קילה יצחק לברך את יעקב, ויהיו אך יזו יעקב מאת פני יצחק אביו ועשיו אחיו בא מצדו. ויש גם הוא מטעמים ויביא לאביו ויאמר לאביו יקום אבי ויאכל מצד בנו בעבור תברכני נפשך.
Tell us the verse where you're at.
32.
Okay.
ויאמר לו יצחק אביו מעתה ויאמר אני בנך בקורך עשה ויחרד יצחק חרדה גדולה עד מאוד ויאמר מאיפה הוא הסד זית ואביו לי ויאכל מכל בטרם תבוא ואברכהו גם ברוך יהוה.
Baruch Yihye.
Pardon?
It's Baruch Yihye. It's not the name of God there. It's
Oh,
Yihye.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no big deal.
Okay, you're
I
okay.
completely misread that. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm trying to translate it in my head at the same time, and it,
Sure.
it doesn't always work out.
No problem.
Kishmoa asav et divrei aviv vayitzach sav za'acha gadola umara ad meod vayomer leaviv bar kini gam ani avi vayomer ba achiecha במרמה ויכח ברכתך ויאמר הכי קרא שמו יעקב ויגבני זה פעמיים את בקורתי לקחה והנה אתה לקחה ברכתי ויאמר הלא הצלת לי ברכה ויען יצחק ויאמר לעשו הן גביר שם טיב לך ואת כל אחיו נתנתי לו לעבדים ודגן ותירוש שמחתיו ולך אפוא מה אש בני אשא אל אביו הברכה אחת היא לך.
I've lost you. I need to find where you're at.
הנה ברכני גם אני אביו וישא עשיו קולו ויבך
Yep. All right, I'll take it from there. In verse, we're in Genesis chapter 27, verse
Good.
39.
39.
Yep. ויען יצחק אביו, ויאמר אליו, הנה, משמני הארץ יהיה מושבך, ומטל השמיים מעל, ועל חרבך תחיה, ואת אחיך תעבוד, והיה כאשר תריד, ופרקת עולו מעל צווארך. Verse 41. ויסתום עשיו את יעקב על הברכה, ויסתום עשיו את יעקב על הברכה אשר ברכו אביו, ויאמר עשיו בליבו, יקרבו ימי אבל אבי, והרגה את יעקב אחי, ויוגד לרבקה את דברי עשיו בנה הגדול, ותשלח ותקרא ליעקב בנה הקטון, ותאמר אליו, הנה עשיו אחיך מתנחם לך להרגך, ואתה בני שמע בקולי, קום ברח לך אל לבן אחי חמד אשר תשוב חמת אחיך. Verse 45. עד שוב אף אחיך ממך, ושכח את אשר עשית לו, ושלחתי ולקחתיך משם, למה אשכול גם שניכם יום אחד. ותאמר רבקה אל יצחק, קצתי בחיי מפני בנות חטא, אם לוקח יעקב אישה מבנות חטא כאלה, מבנות הארץ, למה לי חיים. And now in verse chapter 28. ויקרא יצחק אל יעקב ויברך אותו, יצווהו, ויאמר לו, לא תיקח אישה מבנות כנען, קום לך פדנה ארם, ביתה בתואל אבי אמך, וקח לך משם אישה מבנות לבן אחי אמך, ואל שדי יברך אותך ויפרך וירבך, והיית לקהל עמים, ויתן לך את ברכת אברהם לך ולזרעך איתך, לרשתך את ארץ מגוריך אשר נתן אלוהים לאברהם, וישלח יצחק את יעקב, וילך פדנה ארם אל לבן בן בתואל הארמי אחי רבקה אם יעקב ועשיו. Verse 6. וירא עשיו כי ברך יצחק את יעקב, ושילח אותו פדנה ארם לקחת לו משם אישה, ברכו אותו ויצב עליו לאמור, לא תיקח אישה מבנות כנען, וישמע יעקב אל אביו ואל אמו, וילך פדנה ארם. וירא עשיו כי רעות בנות כנען בעיני יצחק אביו, וילך עשיו אל ישמעאל, ויקח את מחלת בת ישמעאל בת בן אברהם אחות נביות על נשאו לו לאישה. That's it. That's the end of the parsha right there.
Right there.
Got it.
Great.
So we could do this a number of different ways. Why don't we do it this way? Why don't we, instead of starting from the very beginning, why don't I throw it open and see if there are any particular questions or issues that anybody wants to speak about? Do you guys have any particular issues that you'd like to raise in this parsha?
Yeah.
And explore them further?
What about the game and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I have to find it first. Do you want to talk about something else?
No.
Well, when it says back when the children were born, let's see, in chapter 26. Is it 26? No. 27 when he... Where is it?
Here we go. 27.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
It's when the kids were first born, because I looked it up.
When Yaakov and Esau were born?
When he said that.
Yeah, when they were first born.
When they were first born, and then you said, and then Yitzhak loved Esau because the game was in his mouth.
Right. So that's.
And so I went and looked up. I looked up on Bible Hub this morning to see what that game was. And by trickery or by, it could mean hunting, or it could mean, there were a lot of different meanings on there. And I know the standard translation is that because he liked the taste of the the hunt, the taste of the food that he brought to him. But it looks like it also could mean, which may be a strange meaning, but that Esau was always deceiving his father, and he liked what Esau did. The trickery was in his mouth, whether it was the game that was in his mouth as far as wild animal game, or whether it was the cleverness that he used to trap his prey.
i.e. his opponent.
So that was something that just kind of stuck out to us. Is it because Isaac was so, and I don't want to say dense or innocent, that he just kind of had this robust son going out there, and he admired him so much that he wanted to give him everything? Or was it that he had deceived his father, actually deceived him through trickery all his life, and his father always played his game? So that's just a question. I'd like to know your understanding of that.
Well, I mean, I can only go based on what the text says and the general context. So we see a couple of things, right? We see that let's see where it starts. So in the previous verse, it says, "Vayidalu hana'arim," the boys grew up. "Wahi Esav ish yodeat aid sadeh." So it says, and Esav became a I'm going to paraphrase here, but an expert, literally a man who knowledgeable of the hunt, a man of the field. Okay, so Yaakov ish tam yoshev ohalim, and Yaakov was a simple person who sat in tents, which basically meant he was a shepherd, right? So he looked after the flocks in tents. So we see here that there's a contrast. Okay, one is a hunter, and another is a shepherd. Okay, so I think already we see that Esav is a literal hunter, and therefore when it says in the following verse, which is the words you're talking about, when the hunt was in his mouth, I think it's referring to the tasty the taste of the hunt. We could sit here and we could speculate on why he liked hunted food rather than a sheep killed from the flock by Yaakov, and then you can get into all kinds of psychological speculations. Oh well, maybe Esav, maybe Yitzchak respected Esav more than Yaakov because Esav went out and hunted, and Yaakov just sat in a tent and watched sheep all day long, and maybe played the flute and prayed or something like that. But it's not here in the text, in my opinion, and I think that is also that's also reinforced by when we have the actual situation where Yaakov Yaakov brings the hunt to Yitzchak, or pretends to bring the hunt to Yitzchak. So let's see where that is.
5, yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we'll pick it up in verse 5. Okay. And let's see if I want to focus on. Okay. Well, verse 5 says, "Vorivka shamat bidaber Yitzchak el Esav beno." Okay, so let's go back a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so here we have in verse 3. So Yitzchak wants to bless Esav. Okay, we'll start in verse 1 actually. Okay, so we're in chapter 27, verse 1. Why he Zaken Yitzchak. So when Yitzchak had become old, and his eyes had become dim, too dim to see. He called to his eldest son Esav, Yomer elav bni, Yomer elav hineni, and he said to him, my son, and he said, Esav answered, here I am. Yomer, verse 2, Yomer hine na zakanti lo yadati yom moti. And he said, I am old and I don't know when I will die. I don't know the day of my death, literally. And here's maybe the key verse. And now kindly lift up. Won't you please lift up your lift up is a bad translation. Won't you take your in English, your instruments of, or in this case your weapons, talecha, your quiver, kashtecha, your bow, watzeh hasadeh, and go out to the field, watzudali, tzayid, and hunt for me some game, some hunt. Okay, wasel matamim, and make for me delicious dishes, a delicious dish kasher hafti, as I love so much, or as I have loved, vehevia li, and bring it to me, and I shall eat it in order that I shall, my soul, or my essence, my heart, shall bless you before I die. Okay, so the context here is clearly the food, right? I mean, it's go out, definitely. Hunt, bring it back, cook it up for me. That'll get me in a nice, good mood. It's gonna get me all, buttered up for the big moment where I'm gonna, I'll be nice and happy and satisfied, and a great blessing is gonna come out of my mouth, right? So I think here that the from the text, the context is clearly he just likes the food. He likes hunted food better than he likes I guess a McDonald's hamburger or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say the same, but
exactly. And what gets me is, I mean, I have probably through my study of Yitzhak, through Yitzhak, it's like Yitzhak, what, you're not even related to Abraham. I mean, the decisions you make are based on what you feel, and maybe that's why Yehovah didn't allow him to go down to Egypt, because he didn't have some kind of discernment or something. I hate to be hard on one of our patriarchs, but it just seems that, I mean, obviously Rivka had been told when the children were in the womb that the oldest was to serve the younger. Didn't Yitzhak get that? Did she not tell him? It's maybe easy to be hard on him, but it just seems like, when you're going to do something like give a blessing to one of your children, you want to have a clear mind and not be doing it by whether you had a McDonald's hamburger or not.
Well, we see a pattern among the matriarchs that there's, us guys, we could be a little bit obtuse at times, which is why we need a good woman in the picture to kind of, show us the way at times, right? And this is not, we see the same with Sarah. Okay, it's true. It's honestly true. I don't like to spout this this feminist party line usually, but the fact of the matter is that that's exactly what a good woman does. Is she's sometimes she's able to see things when the ta'avot, when the lusts of the man sometimes will block his ability to see things clearly. But we see a similar pattern with Sarah, right? Abraham was very upset about throwing his son Yishmael out into the desert, and Sarah said, no, you have to get rid of him. And then God comes to Abraham and said, listen to your wife Sarah. This kid's got to go. Okay, so Abraham, rightfully speaking, had a blind spot here. This is his own flesh and blood. This is his son. He obviously had, this is before well, no, sorry, take that back. Yeah. It's not before this that Yitzhak was already born. But this is wait, I'm thinking of this particular verse. One second here. Right, there's a verse which says, if only Yishmael would listen to me. So I guess it's already after Yitzhak is born. So Abraham obviously has, this is his firstborn son, even though it's not from his favorite wife, it's from a concubine. But he obviously has high hopes for Yishmael, that he's going to inherit the family business, which is to walk in the way of God. And he's not able to see past the fact that Yishmael will never be able to do this. He just doesn't have the character to do this. And it's Yitzhak who is gonna inherit the family business, so to speak, and not Yishmael. So it took a little bit of prodding from Sarah, who was able to see clearly, and Avram, whose eyes were a bit blinded because of this love and this he had for his firstborn son. and this hope he had for his firstborn son. Well, you see kind of the same thing here. Okay, so Yitzchak now in turn is a little bit blinded by this, by all these nice gifts, these good foods that his son is constantly cooking for him, buttering him up, basically. I don't know if he's doing that on purpose. I'm sure he did out of honor for his father, but Yitzchak is blinded by this. And so Rivka is able to clearly see the situation, and she's able to be a good wife, an Eshet Chayil, and take appropriate action, because she's able to see in that case something that Yitzchak is obviously just not able to see. And so we see that pattern again and again, where many times the woman, being a good wife, is able to kind of navigate some of those those tricky waters that the husband isn't always able to do. That's the way I see it. So let's take a look at, just out of curiosity, I have Robert Alter up, and let's see what he says about Sa'id Bapiv. So that's going to be in
Robert Alter. 26, yeah.
Where was it again? It's Sa'id Bapiv.
It was like 25.
No. Was it 25?
Yeah, I think it was that back in.
Yeah. 25. There it is. It's 25, 28. So let's see.
28, that's right.
So first of all, the translation that Robert Alter gives is, let's see here. I'll start in 27. And the lads grew up, and Esav was a man skilled in hunting, a man of the field, and Jacob was a simple man, a dweller in tents. And Isaac loved Esav for the game that he brought him, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And so there it is. And Jacob prepared a stew, and Esav came from the field, etc., etc. So yeah, he translates that as game. No big surprise there. Let's see if there are any comments. So, oops, I lost the page as usual. 1 second. Darn, I hate when that happens. 25. There we go. Okay. 28. For the game that he brought us. This is what Robert Alter says. The Hebrew literally says, for the game in his mouth. It is unclear whether the idiom suggests Esau as a kind of lion bringing home game in its mouth. Oh, shoot. I just lost it again. 1 second. Mouse while I'm doing this. Okay. 8. For the game he brought him. The Hebrew literally says, for the game in his mouth. It is unclear whether the idiom suggests Esav as a kind of lion bringing home game in its mouth, or rather bringing game to put in his father's mouth. The almost grotesque concreteness of the idiom may be associated with the absurdity of the material reason for Isaac's paternal favoritism. Pointedly, no reason is assigned for Rebekah's love of Jacob in the next clause. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have a couple of people listening in now. We've got Yeshua Amaya, and we have Raphael Mike. Raphael Mike is my friend. He's from a Jewish community, believe it or not, in Uganda. So,
oh wow!
I love me Uganda.
Yeah. All right.
I lived down there for 2 years.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you've been all over.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I lived in Kenya for 7 years.
Wow. No kidding.
Yeah.
So, Raphael Mike, if you don't mind typing in, where in Uganda are you from?
This guy. Typing that on Facebook, probably.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if he answers, he answers. Yeah. Yep. So he's in on Facebook. So if you hear me, Raphael Mike, type in the part of Uganda that you're from, or the region, or the town, or the city.
Actually, the last place I was at in Uganda.
But apparently, according to Raphael, there's a bit of a Jewish community there.
Yeah, very much so. In Kampala,
What's
there
that?
was. It was surprising. Yeah. I said, surprisingly, in Kampala, yes, there was. Mm-hmm. And also outside of Kampala, I believe there was a Jewish community as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually there buying the old terminal for the company I was working for. The one where Netanyahu got shot.
The Entebbe.
Yeah, in Entebbe.
Yeah.
Where, say again?
I was
Okay,
buying
in
the
Entebbe, sure.
terminal in Entebbe where
Okay,
Yoni Netanyahu
yeah.
was shot.
I'm sorry, you were buying what in Entebbe?
The old terminal
I couldn't hear you,
where
man.
they had the raid on Entebbe.
Hello?
You remember the raid on Entebbe?
It's my internet. No, their internet.
They kidnapped all those Jews and took them to Entebbe
Yeah.
on the plane.
Of course.
And
Of
it's the
course.
same airport. I don't know if you can hear
Did
us.
you say you were buying the terminal?
Yeah, a terminal.
Yeah, there's a problem with the internet. I'm having a lot of trouble hearing. I don't know if it's on my side or it's on your side, but I'm definitely having some trouble hearing. Yeah. Let me.
Here's a type right there.
Having some.
He's going to type it to you so you can
hearing.
Yeah. So yeah, it's he's going to send us chat message so you see it.
Yeah. Let's put this up.
Where Netanyahu was shot. For the company? You looking?
Okay.
Oh.
So.
Just send it in. That's also.
Yeah. In the meantime, would you like to go on to another particular topic? So I think we covered that a little bit regarding.
Yeah.
That was good.
Regarding Yitzhak and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Sure. What other topics? I mean, I was very interested in the idea of the passing down of the same tendencies. Why Yitzhak? I mean, Abraham did a half lie about Sarah being his sister, and then Yitzhak does the same thing with his wife. And
right.
Interesting. It's like father to son, father to son.
Right. And the reasons are the same, basically. So let's take a look at that.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see what this is. Toldoth, Jacob and Esau. This is his birthright. And here we are. Okay. Yitzhak Begrar, and I'm going to bring up the section with Avraham, and let's compare it and see what we got. So just give me a second here.
Mm-hmm.
So Avraham, it's going to be around in maybe 15 or so. Let's see here. Kings
26:6.
Yeah, but I also want to bring up the section with Abraham where he has the same problems.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Back a few.
In 12. Yeah.
In 12. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's not one second. Okay. 1 second. יבוא אברהם מצרים ויראו המצרים כי אישה ויראו אותה שרי פרעה ויאכלו. One second here. One second. Just 1 second. And it's 20.
Shutting this.
Okay. All right. Yisam Misham Avraham Atzal Negev Vishev. Okay. So if we go back, can you guys hear me okay now, by the way?
Yep.
Hello? Okay.
Yep.
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay. So let me just bring this up here. I'm going to switch the screens. Share, stop screen, share screen. And we've got Genesis 19. Okay, so here's the story. So this is after the whole story with Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Amorah, Lot and his daughters, etc., etc. And then we get to Genesis 20. And maybe just to make it go quick, because we want to get the essence of the story, or we want to get the narrative of the story rather than the Hebrew in this case. I'm just going to read it in the English. I'll read the NIV version. Okay. So we see now, and we need to refer well now from there between Shua and Gerar. And there, Abraham said, "Dream one to him, you are as near her." So he said, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Did he not say to me, she is my sister? And didn't she also say, he is my brother? I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands." And God said to him in a dream, "Yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I've kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you will die." Okay, so that's Genesis 20. And we have here, well, let's do it this way. Wish I could bring two screens up at once, but I can't. Okay, I'll just read in Genesis 26. So in Genesis 26, verse 6, again, I'm going to read in the English. So in Genesis 26, verse 6, now there was a famine in the land besides the previous famine in Abraham's time, and Yitzchak went to Avimelech, king of the Philistines in Gerar. So it's the same guy, right? This is basically the same guy, I would think, or maybe his son, right?
There was a discussion about that. We had a discussion about that online.
But there's an Avimelech, king of the Philistines in Gerar. I'm sorry, say again. You were breaking up.
Yeah, I think there's a voice lag. We did have a discussion about this online during the week, and it seemed, well, from what we were talking, it seemed that several people think that it might have been the son of the other one because it was several years later.
Exactly.
Quite a few years later.
Exactly. It's possible. But then again, generally, I don't think we can find much of a situation in the Tanakh where children are given exactly the same name as their fathers or as their parents. So it might have been the same. We also know that people lived a lot longer back then, right?
True.
We have all the patriarchs living, in the 150 give or take range. So it might have been the same. It might have been the same dude, the same Avimelech, who just doesn't seem to learn his lesson. He just likes, he likes the women. So he's got a thing for Jewish women. I don't know, what can I say?
He likes his hot Jewish chicks.
Right.
Yeah. So all right, but okay. So that's the story in Genesis 20, right? So again, to just kind of, let's see, where was it? So it's Genesis chapter 20, verse 1. Yeah, and then Abraham had the same situation down in Egypt. So we'll also look at that. But let's now focus on this. So we've got this guy, Avimelech from Gerar, and then in Genesis 26, okay, besides the previous famine in Abraham's time, and Isaac went to Avimelech, king of the Philistines in Gerar, okay? So in chapter 20, I wish I could put these both side by side, but I have no way of doing that. Oh, I can do it. If I share the entire, wait, I have an idea. 1 second here.
There you go.
Let's do this. 1 second. I can stop sharing. Stop. Share screen. window, and I think this will allow me to share the entire Chrome. Yes, I think so. Oh my God, that doesn't look good, does it? No. Oh, but that's because I'm on this.
Wow.
Okay, wait a second. Can you see now? Can you see Genesis 26 now?
That's
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah. 26.
And can you see can you see Genesis 20? And now Genesis 20, right?
Yeah.
Yep. That's 20.
Yeah. So as long as I stay away from this window, then we're good. Okay. So in Genesis 26, so it says Isaac went to Avimelech, king of the Philistines in Gerar. So he's called king of the Philistines in Gerar. And here he's called and here he's called Avimelech, king of Gerar. So it's the same area, Gerar.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same name and it's the same area. Here he's called king of the Philistines in Gerar. And in Genesis 20, he's called Avimelech, king of Gerar. It's basically the same thing. Okay? And in 20, we saw the story. Now let's read a little bit in 26. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and I will bless you. And remember, of course, that Abraham went down to Egypt. And then again, he lied to the Egyptians and said that Sarah was his sister instead of his wife. So Abraham did it twice, and Isaac is now doing the same thing. He's doing it once. Any rate, in chapter 26, verse 3, for to you and your descendants I will give all these lands and will confirm the oath that I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. We'll skip ahead a little bit. Verse 7, when the men of that place asked him about his wife, he said, she is my sister. One second. Yeah, she is my sister. Because he was afraid to say she is my wife. He thought the men of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah because she is beautiful. And we have in chapter 20, she's my sister. That's in verse 2. And then Avimelech finds out in a dream that this is actually Abraham's wife. And then Avimelech called Avraham and said, so now we're in verse 20, chapter 20, verse 9. Avimelech calls on Avraham and says, what have you done to us? How have I wronged you that have you brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? Blah, blah, blah. What was your reason for doing this? So chapter 20, verse 10. What was your reason to doing this? And Avraham replies, I said to myself, there's surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. So it's exactly the same reason, right? So here's chapter 20, verse 11. Avram replied to Avimelech, the same guy. I said to myself, there's surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. And here we have she's my wife. He thought the men of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah because she is beautiful. Okay, so it's basically the same. He doesn't say explicitly that it's because they don't have fear of God, unless it comes later. What have you done this? Wait 1 second. Anyone host? Right. God, the same stories and there. So it's just I don't really know what to say about this except maybe we can look at it from a different side and we can understand the dilemma of the patriarchs. The patriarchs and their families are people who fear God, and they're going through this this God-forsaken land which is inhabited by these godless idol worshiping Canaanites, and they're scared. They realize it's just like you wouldn't walk through parts of New York City at 2:00 in the morning with your wife or your sister. So I guess the reality in Gerar just hasn't changed from generation to generation. I don't know what else more there is to say about the coincidence, except to say that we see a lot of times in the Torah that stories will repeat themselves. What comes to mind, the story that we have, or the story of in Sodom and Gomorrah, where the inhabitants of Sodom attempt to break down the door. We see the same thing with the concubine going into one of the cities of Benjamin, and the Benjaminites want to break down the door and have sex with the concubine. They do. They end up having sex with her and killing her, and it's almost a repeat, or it's a similar repeat of the same story. The Torah does this a lot. It repeats stories.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's supposed to be some kind of theological meaning behind it, or that's just the way it happened, or
maybe it's a warning that this is something that's going to
some other number of
happening.
times. And here it's exactly the
Got a voice delay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely shows how godless the Canaanites were. That was definitely a bad neighborhood. You go into certain neighborhoods of New York or Chicago or whatever big city you want to choose, and that you're going to have trouble if you're not careful. So I think it says more about the Canaanites than it does about the patriarchs. That both patriarchs felt they were going to be in the same situation, that they had to lie about it. I guess then you can ask, why did Yitzchak even go back to that area? But if we do remember, Abraham had made a covenant with Avi Melech, so maybe Yitzchak thought that would be a good area of refuge, right?
Yeah,
he's going back to his old friend Avi Melech. So
it's interesting, when you look at the situation. I presume Gerar at the time was in the area they now call Gaza, and it's interesting that the Philistines were there, and the same situation still exists today. If you go down, you can't go to Gaza. Full stop.
Right.
It's just too dangerous, and maybe this was a warning for future generations that unless you do something about this, it's going to continue on and continue on and continue on until you eventually do have to do something, which is the situation we have now.
Yep, I totally agree. That's actually pretty good insight. That definitely the Torah is trying to show us just how evil and how godless and without any morality whatsoever the Canaanites were, and that's definitely setting us up for what's going to happen 400 years later. Because you have a common criticism of the Torah and of God, that God commands genocide on the Canaanites. What a horrible thing. But these people, they were scumbags. They were just the lowest life human beings you could possibly imagine on planet Earth. God gave him plenty of chances to repent. He sent Jacob down and his family down for 4 centuries, to give the Canaanites a chance to maybe repent, and they didn't. I mean, at a certain point, God's patience just runs out.
So then you have Esau marrying 2 Canaanite women later in our parsha, and it didn't please Isaac and Yitzhak and Rebecca. Right. Clearly, they were not happy about it, and then he goes and marries a daughter of Ishmael to try and make it right.
Right. Yeah. Well, you see, in both the case of Abraham and the case of Isaac, they both are very clear that they do not want their son, the one who's going to inherit their, the family business, so to speak. They do not want them taking daughters from the local population. They were Padam Aram, and they want them to take daughters from the family. But whatever the case is, they do not want their sons marrying Canaanite women. Okay, so these Canaanites, whoever the heck they were pretty bad news.
Yeah.
So much so that both patriarchs sent their sons away, or the top, the first two patriarchs sent their son to lie about who their wife was, in order to survive, in order to not be killed or have their wives killed, or not their wives killed, to be killed over their wives. So we definitely get an idea about these Canaanites were bad news. As you said, just as today you wouldn't want to walk around Gaza,
No. It's kind of interesting as well. I think historically, as well as biblically, at that time, Gaza was a protectorate, if you will, of Egypt. Mm-hmm. So they were receiving stores and goods from Egypt. And guess where they're getting stores and supplies from today?
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, the entire land of Israel has always, in a certain sense, has always relied or been in close contact with the surrounding nations. Either to the south, which has generally been Egypt, or to the north, which has been the in ancient times the Assyrians for the most part. To the east, the Babylonians, right? Israel is very much in a crossroads, so we're constantly generally relying on these, or having interactions with these larger nations to the north, to the south, and to the east. So I guess history definitely repeats itself. If we look at Genesis 12 for a second, then it says here again. I'll do it in the English. Abram in Egypt, so he's not yet Abraham. So now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was severe. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but will let you live. Say you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you." When Abram came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarai was a very beautiful woman. And when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abram well for her sake, and Abram acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants and camels. But the Lord inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abram. "What have you done to me?" He said, "Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she's my sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here's your wife. Take her and go." And Pharaoh gave orders about Abram to his men, and they sent him on his way with his wife and everything he had. So that's the first time, right? So Abram, we see twice, has to do this, once in Egypt, and then once with Avimelech in Gerar. And then Isaac does the same thing with, again, this Avimelech dude in Gerar. So it's interesting that they all felt that they were in such danger that they had to do this, and it's not a good feeling. If anyone has ever lived in a big dangerous city like I grew up in New York, you're constantly feeling tense that you have to be surrounded by people who you never know. Are they going to rob you? Are they going to steal from you? Are they going to murder you? So I totally, and I'm sure many people listening, who grew up in big cities, you grew up in Johannesburg, right? And that's not exactly, Little House on the Prairie or something like that. So far from it. So it's not a good feeling to have to constantly be afraid of the neighborhood you're in and what the what the boys in the hood are going to potentially do to you. So we'll just leave it. So, at any rate, well, anything else you want to discuss about this topic?
Don't know.
Got that pretty good.
I thought
Yeah,
it's an interesting observation. I don't know if there's really anything we can discuss about it, but the fact that we know how Laban was later, and he was Rivka's brother.
Right.
And it's possible that Rivka saw all this deceit so much in her childhood that went on in her own family, that when it started happening among her sons, she was able to pick up on it and recognize and realize that if she didn't do something about it, there goes, the whole prosperity of the nation.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's another parallel. So we have a situation where Abraham does not want his son Isaac to marry the Canaanite girl. So where does he send him? He sends the servant. Actually, he doesn't send Isaac. He sends a servant to Haran, and she ends up, and the servant, who may or may not be Eliezer, we'll assume maybe it's Eliezer, comes back with Isaac's not first cousin, second cousin, right? Because Isaac's father is Abraham. Abraham's father is Terach. Terach's son is Nahor. Nahor died. Nahor's son was Bethuel, and then Bethuel's son was Rivka, right? So we're talking about second cousins, right?
Right.
And then Yaakov does exactly the same thing and ends up marrying his third cousins, right? It's the same story again and
Same story
again. Yeah, Isaac says, no, I don't. I have all this pain. Or actually, it was before. Yeah, it was after the pain that was that is mentioned regarding Esav marrying the local Canaanite women, I believe. But at any rate, Isaac decides he does not want his son to marry any of the Canaanite women, and so he sends him off to Haran, basically to Padam Aram, and to the same house, to exactly the same house, and comes back now with the Rivka's brothers' daughters. So Rivka's nephews, who are Yaakov's third cousins. So Isaac marries his second cousin. Yaakov marries his third cousins. Really, he only wanted one third cousin, but he ends up marrying his third cousin. And then we have Abraham marrying Sarai, okay, who is mentioned that it's his sister, right? His half sister. And and let's see, let's go back to that for a second. So, all right, I'll grab this one here, and we're going to go back to, so that's again in Genesis. No, that's in Genesis 20. So, what was it? Yeah, and he says, she's my sister, blah, blah, blah. Why did you do this? Okay, I mean, what's the reason for doing this? I said, okay, besides, she is really my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother. Okay, so let's figure this out. So we know that Abraham, so this is in verse 12, we know that Abraham's father is Terach. We don't know the name of Abraham's mother, right? I don't think anywhere it's mentioned.
No.
We don't know the name of Abraham's mother, but Abraham's father Terach had more than one wife, obviously, and so therefore Sarah is the daughter of one of those wives. So that's not even first cousin there. Well, that's not even first cousin. That's half sister that he marries, right? So we have this repetition again and again that they're marrying kind of very close members of the family, right? Which I guess was acceptable back then. And the point being that we see constantly in the Torah stories that repeat themselves, or stories that harken back to other stories. So let me just think here for a second. So we don't know the name of Terach's wives at all, right? It's not mentioned anywhere.
None of them. Yeah.
Right? We know the name of Abraham's father. We don't know the name of Abraham's mother, and we don't know the name of Sarah's mother. Right? Is that correct?
Right.
It's not mentioned anywhere, not even in Chronicles, I don't think.
No.
Right? So let's see.
I'm sure there's a good Mishnah about it.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, there is. Don't they say? I can't even remember. Let's see.
Yeah, like Rivka being 3 years old. I don't know, man.
Here we go. Well, here we go. Here we go right now.
Go.
Look at this.
What do you
Parents, Terach, and then the mother is Amatalai. But what does it say here? Talmud.
Talmud.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Which implies right there that we don't know who the mother is, right?
No.
Yeah. So. And the same with Sarah. Sarah's mother is not mentioned anywhere, I don't think, but let's just check.
No.
Make sure. Sarah, parents, Terach, unknown woman. It's very straight, right? It's very interesting. So we know who the mother is, who the father is, but we don't know who the mothers are of Abraham and Sarai in both cases.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting stuff.
There's so many interesting things to do with Sarah as well. Like, I believe she's the only woman in the Torah whose age is actually given at her death, whose lifespan we actually know.
Huh. Okay. Let's think about this for a second. So we don't know Rivka's, right?
No.
Rivka's life is not mentioned. We can actually confirm that very quickly by our good old friend Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Rebecca.
I think you made a there.
So Rebecca.
And there's obviously an
Matriarch.
important reason for knowing that.
Is there?
Well,
One
you know,
second.
That she was the only one mentioned?
yeah.
Well, here we go. According to the traditional counting cited by Rashi, Isaac was 37 years old. Blah blah blah. The reason for that age is that Sarah gave birth when she was 90, died after the binding when she was making Isaac. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I guess it doesn't mention, right? And it doesn't mention in the case of Leah or Rachel, right?
No.
Reviews, appearances. No. Okay. Well, I'm going to take your word for it, but I'm sure you're right because I don't remember those numbers being. So the question you're asking,
can't think just the matriarchs, but other people in the Bible as well. I can't think of any other woman whose actual age was given.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
So there's something interesting there.
Even Eve.
That is definitely interesting. I don't know. I really don't have an answer for that. What is the significance of giving in an age of death at the time that they die, and why is Sarah's age given and the other matriarch's age is not given? We know all the patriarchs are given, right? Right down to Joseph. His age is given. I don't know. I wish I had an answer. I don't. Do you guys have any ideas?
No.
Not at the moment.
No. Not really.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. That's all I can say. All right. So by the way, our friend Raphael Mike said that he's from Mbale. I don't know where that is.
Where that?
Mbale.
Mbale?
Yeah.
Oh, I know Mbale. It's up in the Highlands, I believe.
Yeah. Sounds about right. Because I remember doing a video call with him, and it looked like it was surrounded by a lot of mountains. So
Wow.
Yeah. Beautiful area.
Raphael Mike. Yeah. Okay, so all right, next issue. So what do you guys want to discuss next?
I don't know.
All right.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff.
There's so much.
Well, I mean, obviously not really from this parsha, but the deal with Rivka the rabbinic stuff. Rivka having to be 3 years old in order to marry Isaac.
Right.
And I ask, clearly, how is a 3-year-old going to be able to decide a thing so important as going the next day? How is it a 3-year-old's going to lift waters for camels? Those water jugs are heavy.
Right.
Why? And I ask ever since I've heard it, why would they invent that?
What's their
Is it
motivation
funny?
for inventing that?
Is it
I
funny?
think the motivation sometimes is they almost want to do something that the Torah definitely does not do, which is almost like ascribe supernatural qualities to the patriarchs. You know, like these are not just regular people; these are like magical, mystical, people who have special powers that we don't have.
10 feet tall.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. One argument I had with a Chabad rabbi, in fact, was about the generation that came out of Egypt were the most holy of all the generations.
Right.
And I was like, I was like, how can you say that they were a holy generation when every step of the way they complained, they failed, that they built the golden calf, and yet they claim that they were the holiest generation, and I mean it was a mixed multitude for a start.
Yeah, but the reason they were holy is because the woman went out in the fields and slept with the man in the ditches. I mean, they have so much midrash that it's like so that they could have babies out in the ditches while the men were working, so they wouldn't lose their sexual desires for the women. And I
don't remember that one. I think the one I remember is the men every Shabbat or every Yom Kippur or something like that had to dig a grave or something and lie down in the grave, and then those who were destined to be killed that year were died in the grave, and those who didn't rose up from the grave or something. Or no?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them.
That was every Yom Kippur.
A lot of strange stuff. What's that?
That's a great one.
Yeah,
that was every Yom Kippur.
You can't dream these things up. I mean, really.
Well, if you have 2,000 years with nothing to do except sit around and wait, for the next pogrom, you'd be surprised what you can dream up.
Well, like I said, I wish I had some of what they were smoking. I could make a fortune.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my gosh. So, all right. Okay. So, do we want to talk about any other particular issues in this parsha? If not, we could just start going through it.
Anything very clear? Everything seems pretty clear in this parsha so far.
All right. So here's a big question that comes up a lot of times, and is Yaakov a bad guy for deceiving his father?
There you go. That was a question I had this week, is how on earth that was an outright lie. He said, I am your oldest son, Esau.
Well, Rivka lied as well.
So is that justified?
What is the justification there?
Well, I always like to, if I can find this.
It's 40.
Yeah.
27, round about 41, 42.
Yeah, but he's going to take us somewhere.
Oh.
Yep. If I can find this verse in Proverbs.
Proverbs. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
All right, here we go back here. Proverbs, Psalms.
Proverbs. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Is this it? Let's see here. Well, if I can't find the chapter and verse, I'll paraphrase it. So there's a statement in Proverbs which says with an honest person or with a straight forward person, God is straightforward, and with a deceptive person, God is deceptive. So the idea here, or the implication here, is, again, we have to realize, who we're dealing with. So, we're not dealing with a straightforward kind of guy. Esav is pretty much he's a snake in the grass. He's not a very good guy. Let's put it that way. So to deceive the father, there were a number of reasons behind it, right? And one of them is that actually Jacob bought the birthright fair and square, right? We have the whole story with the nazid, the porridge, right?
Yeah.
Where Esav agrees to sell the birthright, to sell the bechorah to his brother Yaakov. So at that point, really, Yaakov has bought it fair and square, right? And then you have Rivka's understanding that that Esav, or that Yitzhak, was being blinded by his love for Esav's food, for his love of Esav's hunt, his game, and and if you put the two together, you can't just take everything completely out of context. So first of all, Jacob had bought the birthright fair and square. Second of all, Rivka realized that Jacob was the one who really should be getting this blessing, not Esav. Okay, and it was really Rivka at the end of the day who put Jacob up to this whole thing. It's not like Jacob dreamed it up himself, but Jacob had in the past bought the birthright fair and square, so he was getting really what had been deserved.
Yeah.
And behind that, Rivka had already had the dream, or whatever it was, when the children were in her womb, that Jacob was to receive it. I mean, he was to be the one that was the head. So she felt qualified to make that decision, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think everything has to be looked at in context, and I don't think Yaakov. My personal opinion is Yaakov did absolutely nothing wrong. He did, in the context of the situation, he did what needed to be done. First of all, he bought the birthright. Second of all, his mother, he didn't even hatch up the idea to deceive his father. His mother was the one who put him up to it, and he was just following his mother's instructions. So
there's a way of looking at it as well. Yaakov preferred Esav because he was the hunter, and Rivka preferred Yaakov because he was the guy that stayed at home. If you put it into a modern context, the guy that goes out and all brigadier and everything, and then you get another brother who likes to stay at home, and he learns to cook and take care of the house and everything. Mm-hmm. The macho in the man is, look at the brigadier. Oh yeah, he's the one that rides the motorbike. He's the tough guy, and that's what I want.
Right.
And that's kind of what was going on there in a way. Esav was obviously the tough guy, and Yaakov wanted to stay at home and learn how to cook and take care of the household. And
I hear what you're saying, and that kind of goes back to the same idea you were saying before, where it said Tzaid B'Piv, where it said his hunt, or the results of his hunt were in his father's mouth. That you were questioning whether that literally means the taste of the game, or if Yitzhak was just attracted to the idea of his son the hunter, his son the tough guy.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a double entendre there. I think it's a bit of a double entendre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But look at also, it
possibly.
seems that Hashem approved of what, Jehovah approved of what happened, because the very next parsha, Yaakov heads out to the wilderness and he has this dream and he sees the angels coming down and up and down on the ladder, and he's given the blessing, a direct blessing. He's being taken, as the head of the Jews at that point. And he gets heaven's blessing, not only his father's blessing. So, but of course, then later he's deceived by his own father-in-law.
Right.
And what happens.
Right. Well, then you have, of course. Well, obviously, it seems clear that from Yehovah's point of view, he definitely wanted Jacob and not the Esav to inherit, right? And let's just find the famous verse. 1 second. So we've got where is it? Malachi, the beginning of the book of Malachi. Let's bring that up.
Malachi, yep, that was the Haftorah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is exactly probably why that, not exactly probably, this is why that's the Haftorah. So let's see here. Malachi.
Says, Esau have I hated.
Yep. Masad Devar Yehovah El Israel Biad Malachi, the burden, or the burden they usually translate that as, of the word of Yehovah to Israel at the hand or through the hand of Malachi. Ahavti atchem, Amar Yehovah, I love you, or I have loved you, says Yehovah. V'matem b'ma avtanu, and you say, why have you loved us, or for what have you loved us? Hello, Esav liYaakov ne'um Yehovah, is not Esav Yaakov's brother? Ve'ohav et Yaakov ve'et Esav saneti, but I have loved Yaakov and Esav I hated. Basim et harav shmama, and therefore I have made his mountains into a desolation. Wa'et nahalato litanot midbar, and his inheritance into a place where the jackals hang out in the wilderness. I don't know if this jackal, I think they translate this as yes. So we see here that clearly it says explicitly at the hand of Malachi the prophet that Yehovah loves Yaakov and hates Esav. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So certainly Yehovah must have, certainly Yehovah, if we could say, I don't like to say what he thought or did not think, but it's clear that it seems to be that Yehovah certainly felt that choice was right. And not only that,
with
all the setup probably, if everything at the end of the day is in Yehovah's hands one way or another, then that was clearly a setup from God to have this deception take place.
Yeah.
Well, that's already getting into theology, and that's already getting into issues of free will versus determinism, and that's a whole other issue. But to sum it up in a nutshell, I always say that we all have that free will is 100% part of this universe, or in effect, and determinism is also 100% part of this universe, or in effect. And how is it possible that both free will can be 100% in effect and determinism be 100% in effect? That's a paradox that we as human beings can't understand. So that's my simple take on free will and determinism.
It's hard to wrap your head about it. How does Yehovah know everything, and yet he has nothing to do with the choice that is made?
Right.
He doesn't determine whether that will happen or not, but he does know that it will. So,
right. And I would even say it's more complicated than that. I would say that he at once 100% does not determine what happens, and at the same time 100% does determine what happens.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. And how can that be possible? We can't understand that as mortal human beings, just as we cannot picture a 4-dimensional hypercube in our minds. We can only picture its reflection into three-dimensional space. But we can say that if we could picture in our minds 4 dimensions, then a 4-dimensional hypercube would have only right angles, and just to bring that point home. So
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Imagine a piece of string with one end.
Yep. Exactly. So let's see here. So just to make that point, here we go. Bring it up here. Right. So there's our hypercube. Right.
Wow.
And in 4 dimensions, each of these. So this is a 3-dimensional, or this is a projection of a 4-dimensional hypercube into a 3-dimensional space. But theoretically speaking, if we were able to picture 4 dimensions, then each of these angles would be 90-degree angles. They wouldn't be diagonal like this, right? Yep. How is that possible? Who the heck knows? I had a friend in Israel who used to claim that in his mind he could see a 4-dimensional hypercube with 90-degree angles, and I called bullshit on him a long time ago.
Wow.
Because it's just something that we as human beings just cannot perceive, We just can't perceive it. In the same way, we can make statements about what God is capable of, what Yehovah is capable of, even though we ourselves necessarily can't perceive it. And so that's the conclusion that I thought about this for many, many years, and that was the final conclusion that I came to, that free will is 100% in effect, and determinism is 100% in effect. And it's not, and it seems like a contradiction to us, but it's only a paradox because we can't understand how that could possibly work.
Yeah. So. It's like the 10 utterances on the stone, isn't it? I know it's a midrash, but that says that you could see from every angle on the stones the exact wording, and it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, my favorite one I remember learning in yeshiva, I think I mentioned this in a previous study, is where they say, this one always makes me laugh, where there's a midrash, I would have to find it, I believe it's a midrash, where they say that, so the letters on the tablets were written straight through from one side to the other.
Yeah.
So what about the samech? The samech is a circle, right?
Yeah.
And so so it would have a cutout in a circle, and then there would be a stone in the middle, right? Yep. And how is it possible that would be cut all the way through the stone? And so I remember learning in yeshiva, they taught us that it was a miracle, that that little piece of stone would hang suspended miraculously in the middle of the samech, so that it would, you could see the samech from both sides.
Well, you know about magnetism. I mean,
sure.
North.
Sure. In fact, I'd like to find that midrash, and then something interesting. Okay, so the tablets of the covenant.
Oh man.
Covenant can be seen from both sides. There we go. Tablets of stone. Moses turn on there. No. Compare translations. Let's see.
I'm hungry though.
I don't know if I can find it in the Quran. Appearance of the tablets.
We'll finish this.
Content in the Quran gallery. I can't find it right now, but what I can find is the Paleo Hebrew alphabet, which of course we know the stones were written in the Paleo Hebrew alphabet, not in the Assyrian script, right?
Yeah.
So let's take a look at that for a second. Let's look at this one. No, let's look at this one. That works. Cookies, and let's see here. So I'll bring this up over here. Oh, let's see where the samech is. Oh, there's the samech.
Yeah.
In the Paleo Hebrew.
Yeah. The hyenas was the better one then, or even better, the chet.
Right, exactly, exactly. One of the other ones, but the samech or the bet or even the aleph, right? But the samech,
or the tet. The tet's a good one. Look,
right, exactly. A bunch of them are, but not the samech, right? So it just shows the ridiculousness of these midrashim, where they claim that the samech remained, suspended in midair because the Assyrian samech, which they used when the midrash was written, is a circle like the ancient ayin, but the ancient samech is not, of course. So
yeah.
So I always like to point that out when people tell me that midrash. But okay,
That's
so
a good one to remember. Actually, thank you. That's one.
That's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, I'm going to use that. I think. In my arguments.
Definitely. Oh yeah, definitely. That really. I like using that one. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So yep. Do you guys have to get going or something? As I heard in the background, you saying you have to get going.
Yeah, we're getting to the.
Going to make a couple of phone calls tonight, but basically we love this. We love
absolutely love getting on with you and studying with you.
It's been
I wish everybody else was able to get on with us and study as well and give their. Don't be shy. Come on and enjoy it. It's not about being clever or being able to read Hebrew or even to understand it. It's about being there for Yehovah and having a good discussion and enjoying it.
Absolutely,
making it fun.
It's a lot of fun.
It would be so fun to be together and do this kind of thing. But one day it will happen. It's just right now everybody's separated, and that's where we're at. So.
We will, and I love these studies because it's for me it's learning together.
Yes.
I learned so much from it's I learned so much from all of the inputs that other people give. It's just for me it's just an amazing experience because it's.
Thank you so much for your commitment, Melech.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. So all right, if you guys have to go, then I'll let you go, and maybe what I'll do is I'll continue a little while longer, maybe for another 20 minutes or half an hour, something like that. And that's that. But if you guys have to go, feel free to go. So
we may just leave you on in the background. How's that?
Absolutely. Sounds like a plan.
All right. We'll check on you.
Yep. So all right. Shavua Tov, Shabbat Shalom. I'm gonna mute you guys, and if you want to say anything, then just come in and you could just text it or something like that.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Great. Shavua Tov.
All right. Shavua Tov. Bye-bye. All right. So let's take a look at this whole thing. I'll go a little while longer, and then I think I'm going to end it because we've been going, believe it or not, for almost 2 hours. So I would like to let's look at this Genesis chapter 27. And by the way, if anyone else wants to come on or make comments, the best way to come on, well, if you're on the Facebook or the YouTube, then you can only text. You can only do text comments. But if you come into the first link, which is the Streamyard link, then you can actually have an ongoing discussion. So if anyone wants to come in on the first link, the Facebook link, the Streamyard link, feel free. If not, then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through from the beginning again. We'll start in chapter 25 and 25:19, and I'm going to read through it again. And this time I'll stop if I have anything in particular that we want to focus on. But and just give me 1 second. I just want to grab a drink of water. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to put on some music, grab a drink of water, and then we'll continue.
Hashem Melech Yishov Yorei Yehuda Umechutzav Yerushalayim Umechutzas Yerushalayim Meheiro Asher Hashem Elokeinu Yishov Yorei Yehuda
שיר זה מוקדש לידידי מיקי דניש, השם ישמרו ויחייהו, יזכה לראות בבניין ירושלים. שבחי ירושלים את אדוני, אהללי אלוהיך ציון. שבחי ירושלים את אדוני, אהללי אלוהיך ציון. כי עזת ברכי שערייך, כי עזת ברכי שערייך, ברך בנייך בקרבך, ברך בנייך בקרבך, ברך בנייך בקרבך. אהללי, אהללי אלוהיך ציון. אלוהיך ציון. שבחי ירושלים את אדוני, אהללי אלוהיך ציון. שבחי ירושלים את אדוני, אהללי אלוהיך ציון. כי עזת ברכי שערייך, כי עזת ברכי שערייך, ברך בנייך בקרבך, ברך בנייך בקרבך, ברך בנייך בקרבך. אהללי, אהללי אלוהיך ציון. אהללי, אהללי אלוהיך ציון.
Okay, so let's resume the study. We'll go for about another half an hour or so. And okay, can you guys hear me? Can somebody please type in if you can hear me? Let's see here. Share screen, Chrome tab. Yeah. Okay, so there we go. It's better like this. Okay, so I'm going to read through, and if anybody wants to make any comments, please type them in. Or if you want to come on video and have a discussion, then come into the Streamyard link, which is posted in the original post about this study. So we're starting in chapter 25, verse 19. Wa'ele Toldot Yitzchak. These are the generations, Toldot. So the word Toldot comes from the word Yalad. So again, now originally at the beginning of the study, we went through and I just read through. Now I'm going to go through a little bit more in depth, right? So Toledot. So they translate this as generations, and really it comes from the word Yalad, to give birth to. So the generations, or the Toledot, the giving births, or the record of giving births, I guess you could translate this as, but that is the underlying root, Yud Lamed Daled, related, of course, to the word Yeled, or Laledet, which means to give birth. In fact, here, Yalad, to bear, to bring forth, beget. So Toledot are the bringing forths, or the birth line, I guess maybe would be a good translation. The generations they usually translate it as, right? Here, if I click on this, it says generations. If I hover over it, so the birth line, or the birthing line. No, I don't know. I can't think of a good word in English. But these are the generations of Yitzchak ben Avraham. Yitzchak, the son of Avraham. Avraham holid et Yitzchak. So I remember, and I'm not going to be able to find it right now, but I believe it must be Rashi. I should even bring up the Rashi. I'm going to bring up the Rashi because I want to make a point. Let's see. And we'll do Genesis. Where is it with Rashi? Okay. Good question. Let's see. How do I get it with Rashi? Let's give me 1 second here. There we go, Rashi. Genesis. We are in chapter 25. And you know what? I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to stop this. Stop the share. Share screen, window. This is the window I want to share. There we go. So now I should be able to go back and forth. So Rashi on Genesis 1, no, on Genesis, we want Genesis 25. 19. ואלה תולדות יצחק, יעקב ועשיו האמורים בפרשה. Okay, fine. And okay. So I just want to read the Rashi. I'll read it in the Hebrew. Avraham holid et Yitzchak. So this is the verse in 25. Avraham holid et Yitzchak. And Rashi says, and you'll see why I'm bringing Rashi in a second, Al day shekatav hakatuv Yitzchak ben Avraham, Al Yedei Shekatav HaKatuv Yitzchak ben Avraham, for the reason that the scripture wrote Yitzchak, the son of Avraham, who's Kak, Lomar Avraham, it was desire, it was forced to say Avraham holidet Yitzchak. It was afterwards forced to say Avraham gave birth to Yitzchak, lefi shahayu le'tsanei hador, because the mockers of the generation, Omrim me Avimelech nit abra Sarah, because the mockers of the generation were saying that Avimelech gave or made Sarah pregnant. Shehare kama shanim shahata im Avraham, because for a number of years she resided with Avraham, velo nit abra himenu, and did not become pregnant from him. Me aseh kadosh baruch hu, what did God do? Tsar klaster panav. I don't know what klaster is. This is obviously not a Hebrew word. Let me go down to he shaped Isaac's facial features. So cluster, like cluster, I guess. Rashi uses a lot of Spanish words, French words. So cluster must be. So he made the shape of his face, Shel Yitzchak Domeh Avraham. He made the face of Yitzchak similar to Abraham's. V'heidu hakol Avraham holid et Yitzchak. So this caused everyone to witness that Avraham gave birth to Yitzchak. V'zeh shekatuv kan Yitzchak ben Avraham, and this is what is written here: Yitzchak, the son of Avraham. Sheharei edut yesh she'Avraham holid et Yitzchak. That behold, this is proof, or this is witnessing, this is testimony. That would be the correct word. That Avraham gave birth to Yitzchak. Okay, so what do I say about this Rashi? This is a load of BS. This is the stupidest commentary I ever heard in my entire life. Where can I draw on the screen? I don't think I could draw directly on the screen, but if I could, I would draw a giant big X right across it. Okay, and this is so typical of why these medieval commentaries, and Rashi is held up to be the highest medieval commentary of all, are just ridiculous and stupid. And okay, you could maybe claim that what Rashi is doing is trying to like do a drush on the Torah. He's trying to, make stories or, give deeper insight. No, I wouldn't even put it that way. He's trying to, expound. No, that's not even the right word. He's trying to kind of like create stories or teach lessons, teach morals from the text. And he doesn't really believe that this is what the text is saying. But this just goes to show how far off the rabbinites are when they interpret the text, because if they really believe that this is the reason that it says Avraham holidet Yitzchak, then it shows that they know absolutely nothing about the Torah. So what is the reason that it says that Avraham holid et Yitzchak? The reason that it says that Avraham holid Yitzchak is because this is the way that Toldoth always starts, okay? It always says this person begat that person. This person begat that person. In fact, if we look at the word Toldoth, let's find where it occurs elsewhere. Okay. Sefer Toldoth, Adam B'yom, Ele Toldoth Noach. Let's look at this for a second. In Genesis chapter 6, verse 9. אלה תולדות נוח, נוח איש צדיק תמים היה בדורתו את אלוהים, התהלך נוח, ויולד נוח 3 בנים, את שם, את חם, ואת יפת. So here we have an opening phrase. These are the birth lines, the generations of Noach, and then it tells us a little bit about Noach, but then it says, ויולד נוח 3 בנים, Noach gave birth to 3 sons, okay? If Rashi were consistent, then the reason it would say that Noach gave birth to 3 sons after it already says that these are the generations of Noach, or it says it twice, gave birth to 3 sons, et Shem, et Ham, et Yafet, would be to prove that Shem and Ham and Yafet are the descendants of Noah. Okay, but again, we see this is just formulaic for when we have the word Toledot. That often it will start with if it's speaking about the Toledot of Noah, it will say Noah gave so. Okay, again, let's see, Genesis 10:1. Let's look at that. And we have Ele Toledot b'nei Noach, Shem Cham v'Yafet, v'yivaldu lahem banim achar hamalbul. Okay, we have the same formula. These are the Toledot of the sons of Noach. Well, maybe that's not such a good example, but let's find a better example. Okay, b'nei Noach, Toledotem, Ele Toledot Shem. This will probably be a good one. So that was 11:10. Ele Toledot Shem. So we have that same formula. These are the generations, or these are the birth lines of Shem. This is Shem. Shem, and Shem is, of course, one of the sons of Noach. Shem ben mea shana v'yoled et Arpachshad shnatayim achar hamabul. Okay, so it starts with Shem giving birth to Arpachshad, etc., etc. So Rashi's statement, if we go back to what we were saying before, Rashi's statement that it says Avraham holidet Yitzchak, this is ridiculous because it always starts after we have this formula. These are the generations of such and such. It will always start with that person. Okay, Ele Toldot Yitzchak ben Avraham holidet Yitzchak. Vahi Yitzchak ben 40 shana v'kachto et Rivka bat Bituel ha'aramim mipadan Aram, etc., etc. Okay, so it's starting. Okay, in this case with Avraham, but the same principle remains, that this is just formulaic for the introductory sentence. These are the generations of such and such. Okay. Let's just see if there's anything else I have to say here. No, there isn't. All right, let's go on. Vahi Yitzchak ben 40 shana b'kachto et Rivka. So Yitzchak was 40 years b'kachto. So b'kachto is so this is an interesting Hebrew form which we see a lot throughout the Torah. Okay, so we have kachat, kuf chet taf. Okay, coming from the infinitive for this would be lakachat. Let me just bring this up so we can make it a bit more clear. Okay. Lakach. So the underlying root is lamed kuf chet. The infinitive is lakachat. Okay. And so bi kachto. Okay. So if the infinitive is lakachat, then often what we'll see is that the infinitive is used, the lamed, which is always the signifier of the infinitive. And now we're getting a bit into Hebrew grammar. The lamed is dropped, and then you have the rest of the infinitive, in this case, kachat. And then afterwards, so kachat becomes basically a noun based on a verb. So it would be in the taking of. Okay, so 40 shana b'kachto et Rivka. So it's usually translated as when he took Rivka, but that's not really what it's saying. It's really saying in the taking or in his taking of Rivka. But this is a very common form in the Torah where you take the infinitive, you drop the lamed, you turn the rest of the infinitive into a noun, which is, I think, technically would be called a gerund, taking. Okay, so in his taking of, I guess you can translate it of. Okay, bi is put before. This is in or when. Okay, kachat, taking, and his or taking of, and the vav is his. So what this is really saying is in his taking of, in his taking of Rivka. Okay. Bat Bituel, the daughter of Bituel, and we mentioned, of course, that Rivka is the daughter of Bituel. We know that Bituel is the son of Nahor and Milcah. This is mentioned earlier. Okay, so Nahor is Abraham's brother. We mentioned this earlier in the study, but Nahor is Abraham's brother. Their father is Terach. As we saw earlier in the study, we have no idea who Abraham's mother is, and we have no idea who Terach's mother is. That Sarah is the sister of of Abraham from the same father. So Sarah and Abraham both have Terach as a father, but they have different mothers. We saw that explicitly before when we were earlier when we were studying, when we were looking at the genealogy. Okay, but Sarah and Abraham have two different mothers, but they have the same father. That's in Genesis 20, I believe, with the whole story with Avimelech, with Abraham and Avimelech. Okay, so then so Terach gives birth to Abraham and Sarah. Abraham marries his half sister Sarah, and then Terach also gives birth to Nahor. Nahor is the father of Bituel. No, wait a second. Yes, Nahor is the father of Bituel, and Bituel gives birth to. Wait a second. Now I'm getting confused myself. Nahor is the father of. No, Terach is the father of Nahor. Nahor is the father of Bituel, and Bituel is the father of Rivka and Lavan. Lavan and Rivka are brother and sister. So we have here that when Yitzchak marries Rivka, he's actually marrying his second cousin. And where does Lot fit into the whole thing? So Lot is the son of Nahor, right? Nahor dies. Lot is the son of Nahor. Abraham is the brother of Nahor. So Lot is the nephew of Abraham, as we know. And now, wait a second. Let me just get to it. Now I'm getting a little bit confused. So let me just look it up. Okay. Yeah, so he's the son of Nahor. He's the nephew of Abraham. So Nahor, so Bituel is the nephew of Abraham, just as Lot is the nephew of Abraham. So does that mean that Lot and Bituel are brothers? I guess I would assume so, right? I'd have to check the genealogy. Let's just look at this for 1 second. Lot. We're not Polish Airlines, Lot. Person. Okay. So Nahor is his uncle. Haran is his father. Okay, wait a second here. Nahor is his uncle. Haran is his father. Okay, so it was Haran who died. Right. So then, all right, so let's go back to the second to Terach. Let's go to Haran. Let's go to Terach. Children. There we go. Abraham, Nahor, Haran, Sarai. So, Haran gives birth to Lot. Sarai, we know, comes from a different mother than does Abraham. Abraham, we know who he gives birth to. Nahor, right, gives birth to all of these guys over here, which I mentioned. Okay. And Haran, we know, dies. Right? Haran dies. Died unknown in Ur Kasdim, etc., etc. And Lot is Haran's son. Okay, there we go. Now I've got all straight in my head. I hope I didn't confuse you in doing it, but I'm just going through it to have it straight in my head. So now, if we get back to this, so who is Bituel? So Bituel is the son of Nahor, right? Nahor, children, Bituel. There's Bituel. Okay, so one of the children of Nahor is Bituel, and the daughter of Bituel is, or the children of Bituel are Laban and Rivka. There we go. Okay, It gets confusing. So Rivka bat Betuel, Arami, mi Padan Aram, Achot Lavan. So Rivka and Lavan are brother and sister, as we know. Their father is Betuel. The father of Betuel is Nahor. The father of Nahor is Terach. Nahor is the brother of Avraham along with Haran. The son of Haran is Lot. Haran dies. Lot goes with Avraham to Canaan. And Sarai is also the sister of Nahor, Avraham, and Haran. There we go. Okay. Aram, Mipadam Aram, Achot Lavan Ha'arami. So here he's called the Arami. And where is he from? He's from Padan Aram. Okay. So Rivka bat Betuel is also called Ha'arami, Mipadan Aram. Achot Lavan Ha'arami. So these are Arameans, right? They're in the area of Aram. And let's just look up Padan Aram. So Padan Aram was a region referring to the northern plain of the former kingdom Aram Naharaim. Padan Aram in Aramaic means field of Aram, a name that distinguishes the flat land from the mountain regions to the north and south. Abraham, the patriarch of the Avraham religions, did describe these lands as the land of my birth. Okay. And we also know Aram Naharaim. So there's another place, Haran, right? So let's bring that up as well. Just for me to get a little perspective. Not Haram. No, not Haram. This is Haram. I'm looking for Haram. Haram. Look, well, I googled Haram instead of Haran. Yeah, I guess so. Okay. All right. No, we don't want Haran. We want Haran. All right. Haran. There we go. But we don't want the name. We know who Haran is. We know he's the brother of Nahor, the father of Lot. Haran in the Bible. The ruins of the city Haran. That's what we're looking for. Lie within present-day Turkey. Haran first appears in the book of Genesis as the home of Terach and his descendants, and as Abraham's temporary home. Later biblical passages list Haran among some cities and lands subjugated by Assyrian rulers and among Tyre's trading partners. So my question is, so Avraham is told to go to Canaan from Haran. Okay, so it's up here in Twiki. And but now it's saying that Lavan is from Padam Aram or Aram Naharaim. So where is that? Is that also up in, is that the same thing? I don't know. I'd have to do a little bit of research and a little bit of study to look into it. Because we see that Avraham is, when Avraham is told to go to Canaan, he is at that time in a place called Haran. He's in this place, okay? And he's there with his family. He's there with his father. I believe it's Terach. His father died in Haran. I believe so. Okay, but now we see that we're being told that that Betuel and his children Lavan and Rivka are in Padam Aram. So, and that Padan Aram is also called Aram Naharaim. So is Aram Naharaim or Padam Aram, is that the same as Haran? It's a good question. Let's see. Let's Google it. Let's see what Mr. Google says. Is Padan Aram the same as Haran? Let's see. Hold on one second here. No, what do I do? Padan Aram. I'm sorry. Padan Aram. Same as Haran. Padan designates the area of Haran in Upper Mesopotamia. Padan Aram and Haran may be dialectical variations, like Aram and Haran, dialectical, meaning different dialects. Variations regarding the same locality as Padanu and Haranu are synonyms for road and caravan road in Akkadian. Padan Aram or Padan appears in 11 verses in the Bible, all in Genesis. So let's go here and let's look at this place, Padan Aram. So Padan Aram or Padan Aram, we read this before, but I'll read it again, was a region referring to the northern plain of the former kingdom Aram and Naharaim. Padan Aram in Aramaic means field of Aram, etc., etc. Let's go down here. Padan Aram designates the area of Haran in Upper Mesopotamia. Okay. Padan Aram and Haran may be dialectical variations regarding the same locality as Padanu and Haranu, we just read that, are synonyms for road or caravan route in Akkadian. Padan Aram or Padan appears in 11 verses in the Hebrew Bible, all in Genesis. Adherents of the documentary, forget the documentary hypothesis, forget that. The city of Haran, where Abraham and his father Terah settled after leaving Ur of the Chaldees, while en route to Canaan, according to Genesis 11:31, was located in Padan Aram, according to Genesis 11:31. So let's go to that. All right, let me close off a bunch of these. Leave Rashi open. Close this. Let's go to Genesis 11:31. Ikach terach et Avraham beno ve'et Lot ben Haran. So that's Haran ben bino ve'et Sarai kalato eshet Avraham bino ve'yetze itam me'ur kastim lalechet ad Canaan ויבואו עד הרן וישבו שם, ויהי ימי תרח 5 שנים ו200 שנה וימת תרח בחרן. Okay, so it doesn't actually mention that's part of Padan Aram there. So the city of Haran, where Avram and his father Terach settled after leaving Ur of the Chaldees while en route to Canaan, according to Genesis 11:31, according to Genesis 31, semicolon, was located in Padan Aram, that part of Aram Naharaim that lay along the Euphrates. So I think this sums the whole thing up. Haran was in Padan Aram. That was part of Aram Naharaim, which lays across along the Euphrates. So maybe we could sum it up as this, according to Dr. Wikipedia. Anyway, my battery's about to go dead. I'm going to plug in. Okay. I have to plug in my battery or I'm about to go dead. So what I'm going to do is I'll be back in just a minute. Or maybe I should just end the study here. It's already getting late. It's been 2.5 hours. Yeah, I think we're going to end the study here, even though I'd like to go on. But I'm going to end it here. So I'm going to say Shabbat Shalom to everybody. I wish I can go on for another couple of hours, but I have things to do. So I wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom here. My battery's about to go dead soon anyway. So this is a good time to stop. So I wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom and a Shavua Tov. We'll try to do this again next week. And hope you enjoyed the study.